Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Welcome everybody, I am Andrew, I'm your host. This is the Legion of Super Friends. I am joined by CJ.
Hello.
Ross.
Hey.
And Dylan.
What's up?
We're all back again for episode 2. In this show we talk about pretty much any topic that comes to mind. We all go around and talk about something that we want to bring to the table. You can find this whole MP3 of the entire podcast on the Legion of Super Friends .bandcamp.com. We will be posting the episodes part by part on YouTube, and then we also post the full version after we get all 4 parts up for you to enjoy for free on YouTube. It's only $1 if you buy it off of Bandcamp. So if you want to support us, that would be fantastic. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. What's your topic, Dylan?
So my topic is actually Japanese storytelling.
Okay.
And we all watch, we're all fairly large fans of many animes and many games that are very much Japanese storytelling. Yes. One of my favorites is Metal Gear Solid. Mm-hmm. And when I bring that up, it's just full of extremely complicated and intricate character design and storylines that sometimes just kind of fall flat. I was just wondering, what is your personal experience with it like? How do you feel about it? And if you had a favorite, what would it be?
My favorites have always been the Ghibli movies.
Sure.
Those are a lot more straightforward and more telling about things about like mythology and in a way that is both subtle but also very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of reaching a younger audience, but also having depth there. So movies I think of like Spirited Away, things like that.
Definitely.
Like
Spirited Away is a big one. It played all over like Cartoon Network and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But I really like for those movies I really like the subtlety, and how they can make something that is incredibly Japanese appeal to such a wide audience.
Yeah. Ghibli movies just do a great like natural folklore where this just feels sort of right, like it touches that intrinsic part of something that is, in terms of the human like archetypes and stuff, something that feels just sort of like familiar.
Have you seen Pocoroso?
I have not watched that.
That's
one.
The one
Is that the pig one?
That's the pig one.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. What's
that one about?
It's about a man who's cursed to be a pig man, but he's also a fighter pilot. Mm-hmm. So he's a flying pig.
Oh my god!
And it's great. It's about how he falls in love with this girl, and everybody knows him as this ace pilot, but he's like considered an outcast because he has a pig face, and
He's a pig wearing pilot clothes.
yeah, and like there's this competition between I think he's like French or something, and he fights he's rival with the American pilot or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but it's or what nationalities they are. But it's a great film about like acceptance, no matter what you look like, and camaraderie between countries.
Okay.
My favorite Ghibli film is Gashu the Cello.
I haven't seen that one either.
I haven't seen that one.
It's like
I don't think I have either.
It's like, I think it's 80s. I don't know exactly what year in the 80s, but it's really, it doesn't have the meat of a full-fledged movie, but it's just really simple and really cute. So it's just this little boy, well, I don't know if he's a little boy, but he lives on his own, but like in terms of size,
Sure.
sometimes you can't tell, especially when it's anime their age. But he plays in like his little rural village's orchestra band as a cellist, and he keeps messing up, and then like one night over the course of the 3 days before some big rehearsal, he gets visited by, let's see, I think, was it a raccoon? And a whole host of like forest creatures who loved hearing him practice and stuff, and they in turn teach him something special about like playing with emotion, and then his title comes, and he
plays plays perfectly.
Yeah, but it's just really feels like something you'd read in a children's storybook, and like, oh,
Sure.
just a cute folksy tale. But back to the original, just impressions about Japanese storytelling, especially with things like Metal Gear. I find it sort of almost difficult to take them seriously, because not because of it, because they have so many plot lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It feels almost soap opera-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the main character is a clone,
Yeah.
and his brother, his brain was put in another person. There you go. That's a soap opera right there.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so convoluted and crazy but it has these like subtle undertones of really seriousness that I love, that makes the series for me.
I'm actually not as much of an anime buff as either of you guys. It's one of the things that I just very recently started, but because I've always sort of avoided it because because of the convolutedness of a lot of the plot, things like that.
So you think there's the higher point of entry for things like that?
No, it's in a lot of people's eyes, it's sort of embarrassing because they only see the convoluted things,
Sure.
and they, like, sort of laugh off your interests, and you're like, oh no, man, it has its deep moments, and then it's
So
just...
when you look at something like, say, Dragon Ball Z, a lot of people just see the action. They just see buff guys staring each other down.
and
But there's
beating each other up the whole
Yeah.
time.
But yeah, there's so many undertones of friendship, rivalries, family, how important family is to
Yeah.
all the characters, things like that.
But if you say like Dragon Ball Z, people are like, "Oh, that's the show about that constipated guy, right?"
yeah,
Like,
that's what my
It's
dad
like,
says.
yeah. Really?
My dad, when I was a kid growing up, my dad would always like we'd be watching. I'd love Dragon Ball Z, and my dad would always like catch me watching it and be like, "So how long have they been staring at each other? Have they gone to the bathroom yet?"
like,
My grandparents always said it was the show about the people with bananas on their heads.
but yeah, I think I got steered away from it so much because, like, it is sort of an easy thing to poke fun at.
Yeah,
And
sure.
if you actually like it, then you sort of feel embarrassed because,
Not very.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm fucking proud.
yeah, I know, but maybe
As he says in his room that he never comes out of.
Yep.
So I guess my question would be, what is different between Japanese storytelling and, say, Western storytelling?
I think there's more sort of like group accepted guidelines.
Okay.
Take Star Wars as an example. It's very very obvious that there's going to be the original 3, so the current 4 through 6.
Yeah.
New Hope to Jedi. There's going to be the introduction of the hero, the major conflict, and then resolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Japanese storytelling, there could be an introduction of main characters at the very end.
Yeah.
And there can be multiple arcs of conflict.
Okay.
And all sorts of stuff like that.
And,
So it's
and
not
Japanese storytellers, like, the audience has no influence. Like, that's why a lot of people view a lot of ways that anime stories play out as being, like, weird or unorthodox, because they don't really follow any rules. They just kind of do what they want, and that's honestly a strength for, like, the way a lot
For the
of
better
them-
animes, yeah, there are
Yeah.
anime out there that only
Yeah.
play to
and are
fan
just
service.
straight up
Definitely.
like they don't make sense, because the anime is it's the only format of TV show where, like, 100 episodes in, out of nowhere, you'll just go, here's somebody who you've never seen before, their main character from this point on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just
And
fine.
they're going
It's
to be
just okay.
they're going to be in every episode from now on.
Yeah,
And-
like no other type of entertainment does that, really.
And for like a lot of series compared to Western series, when a Western series goes for a really long time, a lot of times it fizzles out. But there are a lot of Japanese series that go forever, but they never stop
Sure, and
breaking new ground.
definitely. We were talking, CJ, you and I were talking about Fairy Tail
Yeah.
earlier today, and I believe that's one of them. Still strong to this day, and still the manga is still even being made. It's amazing. It's really cool. I think it's a testament to the creationism and the how passionate the creators of those series are about it, that they can continue to make such a solid product years beyond.
It's also a testament to how...
I think a better example of that is One Piece.
Yeah,
oh,
One Piece.
One
sure.
Piece has been happening since Dragon Ball Z, and it's still like on the same level as it's always been.
Sure.
Going off of that, though, is I think it's a testament to the community and how accepting they are to just new things happening. Whereas
Definitely.
American audiences will immediately turn down something new because it's new, just
I-
because they
I
don't
feel like-
understand.
American audiences are so much more critical. It just culturally we do not like to accept a lot of things. Me and Andrew were talking about Japanese players who play fighting games competitively who get flown out to the States for a tournament. It scares them how negative our people are, because culturally in Japan people are so nice there. People are so nice and positive, and they value they value
and they accept something.
they
that's
value
different.
things more than they hate on things, and it scares them how much we hate everything.
And when something is changed for them, they recognize that as a step forward.
yeah, as a good thing, like, because Japan is such a revolutionary like you look at what current Japan is, and it looks like the future. It's a convenient, accepting world. You know, and the people act like they're from.
Not that it's a utopia or
a
anything.
No, I mean,
not at all.
as much as we can romanticize Japan, it has its problems.
Oh yeah.
But as far as
There's so
as,
much repressed social undertones in a
well,
lot of that.
I know, and I can romanticize Japan as much as I want, but as far as the community, as far as storytelling goes, which is the topic, I feel like the community is much better. Because I hate American fan bases. They're the worst things in the world. They're the devil to me.
I just hate sort of fan bases. I mean, I really enjoy talking about things that I like.
That you have in common with people.
Yeah, but
when you like look at a group as a whole, that's a very small
no,
minority.
yeah, it's like once you take the next step and identify and organize as a fan group, that's sort of like, okay, you need to slow down a bit.
I just
Calm down. You
Really?
gotta.
Yeah, I think a sense of community is good.
Well, yeah. I mean, it can be, yes, but too often, it's just people will follow something, but
And
just
take-
just hate what
absorb
they follow.
that.
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
Because it's the what I mean more is that they absorb it into part of their identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, look no further than like Tumblr. There's no middle ground with a lot of people. Is you either love it with all of your heart or you hate it with all of your heart. You know.
I don't see why you can't use something that you like as part of your identity.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I understand.
Like, you see
that,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just because you like you can like something and have it as part of your identity. You know, I like where I work, so I use it as part of my identity. You know, I like working out of the radio station. Why does that have to be any different when it comes to a series that I like?
True. It's just when it's taken to extremes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that I
It's-
understand.
Yeah,
that
like,
I understand.
like a pride thing.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I-
because like you describe yourself as, you know, I'm someone who really likes video games or whatever.
Sure.
Like that's an interest, that's a hobby, but that's different than being like, you know, I'm the #1 Doctor Who super fan.
I don't like
Oh,
the people who are like,
whatever.
I'm a gamer, so I'm special. Like, no, you're just a person who's a gamer. Like,
Yeah, the game.
Your
But-
your interests don't make you any
Well,
better than anyone
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
That's
It's
where
when you
it
consider
is.
yourself better that it's bad.
That's what bugs me a lot.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I actually don't like. I know, like Japanese culture and anime and that kind of stuff. I'm not super into that. So it's kind of weird seeing you guys gush about it. Well, not exactly gush.
It's a little bit
but-
of gush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
it's
lot
It's a little
of
bit of
gush.
gush.
It is for me. I'll
it's-
admit that.
yeah.
It's something we all grew up with. So.
I like Japanese. I don't.
It's
even-
my favorite culture in the world.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
mine too. I like the Japanese
It's also
culture.
a part of your culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the Japanese culture far more than I like the American culture. And I know, like, whenever I say stuff like that, everyone's like, "Oh, you're racist," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah,
Like,
You're like, all right,
you can go ahead.
goodbye.
You can go ahead and think that.
but I'm sort of afraid to try to critique, but I think one of my biggest things against Japanese storytelling is sort of a lack of, I don't want to say a lack of subtlety, because that implies that it can't be nuanced, and it can be, but I think the characters more readily portray their emotions,
True. Yes.
not to one another, but to the viewer.
Outwardly, sure.
Yeah, it's almost, it's infuriating to me because it's almost like what are they called in plays?
It's called a soliloquy.
Yeah, when
it's-
they address the audience, it's still called a soliloquy?
They basically are speaking to the audience in their mind. They're basically speaking to themselves, but their self is the audience.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is like if you look at like Japanese dramas, Japanese TV.
I was gonna say
they're so expressive.
it's
Just-
very
not-
cultural too.
Yeah.
Like
And
Extremely.
I get really frustrated with that because it's sort of like you're beating me over the head with it.
With the emotion or with what they're trying to express.
Yeah, and then it sort of blows the issue so out of proportion that I just get annoyed with it, especially with any romance sub-drama, or like you could take freaking, I don't know, what's a really mainstream one? Like,
mainstream what?
Like what kind of anime are you trying to like?
yeah, I don't know, I'm just thinking, I know, let's take freaking like Naruto.
Okay.
Like every 15 minutes there's a speech about how he's valuing his friends and will give up anything for them. And
And
that,
it's like you get the point. You don't have to say it.
yeah,
all the time.
Okay.
yeah, where it just if it doesn't, since it's mentioned so often, it devalues it.
It dilutes the
Yeah.
meaning.
Okay.
And I get frustrated with that a lot with anime and Japanese storytelling.
And that's extremely prevalent in Metal Gear.
Yeah.
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 Extremely prevalent.
Yeah.
Extremely.
At least there's so many characters
Oh my god.
that you don't get the same thing from every single character. Like there's time in between
Yeah.
And that's why
each villain's speech.
yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Johnny as a character. If you've played
From
Metal
Metal
Gear
Gear 4?
from
Yep.
from any Metal, he's in every Metal Gear game.
Oh, he is.
Either him or one of his great grandfather is in it. He just plays a faceless guard in most of the games. In 4, they finally show him take off his mask. And he's fucking beautiful, by the way. He's a guy. He's like a blonde, like chiseled jaw, and it's crazy. But like, he's the only character that doesn't have that kind of soliloquied expression to the audience. He's extremely mysterious. Even once his face is revealed, you know nothing about him, other than he shits himself because he has some sort of stomach disease.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you know. He's not a good soldier.
But
He's not good
he
with
ends
people.
up being like everyone's favorite in 4.
Yeah.
Like he's like the best character in that
Yeah,
game.
he's awesome. He's awesome. It's great. It's great.
We just,
I love it.
Can we also talk a minute about, in terms of Japanese storytelling, about filler?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, I think you're talking about how series go on and on and on, and
Well,
they do evolve and change, but
That's only specifically talking about animation, because when an animation starts, while
They make episodes
the
faster
original
than
series,
they
the original
can make the
the original
comic.
comic book series is still
Yeah.
going. The animation process gets so big and starts moving at such a pace that they can't keep up with the manga
manga
that's
can't-
only doing once a week.
Yeah. Sometimes even once a
so-
month.
Yeah. And so they have to, the people want to see more of what they're making, so they create original content that is often not as good,
Horrible.
or oftentimes pointless.
I
I don't know about you. I sometimes like Dragon Ball filler.
Okay, yeah.
There's a certain charm to filler, but it's objectively a pretty stupid thing because
Sure.
it's ultimately pointless. If you really look at what it is there for, it's like it's pointless.
Yeah, and you're talking about a lot about how you like that the Japanese fan bases and community are so accepting of everything, but I sort of prefer the overly critical stuff, because then when we have things like filler and pointless things, we get like people get mad and it stops happening.
The problem with that is it doesn't.
It doesn't. It honestly
That's
doesn't.
the problem is that it doesn't stop
That's
happening.
like a good
So-
example of that, because we don't get a lot of filler per se in America.
Not anymore.
But actually more recently with things like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, there is an established material, and oftentimes especially specifically with Game of Thrones, it gets so popular and they just start making stuff up.
Yeah, I know.
And-
They're not gonna George R. R. Martin isn't gonna be finished the books in time for the thing.
No.
But
God, no.
I mean, it does sometimes happen. Like, for instance, the TV show Arrow. Have you watched it?
I've seen a little bit of Arrow.
People really like that show, but I've never seen it. I
Yeah,
haven't seen
but
it.
it's
that much.
its fan community is really good. Like, for instance, the first couple of episodes, they started out with a narration type thing.
Uh-huh.
It was horrible. Fans bitched about it. It was gone by, like, the third or fourth episode. Like, feedback does happen. And, I mean, certainly not if it's, like, a giant, you know, Fox thing that they've already sunk millions of dollars into.
Yeah.
But a lot of the smaller, well, it's not even smaller, it's CW, but it does happen, and so I don't think you can just totally dismiss that.
No, like, a lot of times, like, the voice of the fan is heard. It's whether or not it's actually
Anything,
taken.
if
actually
it does anything.
So, like, I like to think that shows like Community, like that the fans did.
They were
influence some.
No, the fans actually influenced way more than you know.
Yeah.
Because Dan Harmon made episodes specifically because of what people were telling him on Twitter.
And I think that's really cool, and I don't know with the Japanese storytelling how you say that the fan community is more pacified. I have no idea if that's
we're
more of a
not
thing.
in that moment. We don't live
We don't
there.
know, and if they are vocal about it and it does affect it, then we have no idea. But from what we can tell, it doesn't happen as often compared to, say, Western storytelling. As to what you're describing.
Yeah.
So we want to. You mentioned Metal Gear as being your favorite piece of Japanese. So
definitely.
Do any of you other guys have like a favorite piece of Japanese storytelling that as a whole you just enjoy?
Mine's a weird one. Mine's like different than what we've been talking about this whole time.
What is it?
So like, okay, so I really like the Japanese culture, and it really helped that for like a solid like 7 years I had a Japanese exchange student who was like,
You had at least one living in your house that
Kosuke.
you were. Yeah, Kosuke was awesome.
my dad called him his Japanese son. We called him my Japanese brother. He was like my best friend ever, even though he was like just like this Japanese guy who just like had to live with us because of college.
He was awesome.
He was really cool, and he's how I learned a lot about Japanese culture in like middle school, and kind of how I got like a lot more involved in it, other than the fact that I like Dragon Ball, and you know, I really like the Japanese culture. I really like Japanese people. I like Japanese humor a lot. It's really funny. Like, you know how like British humor is very like dry.
Yes.
Japanese humor is so tongue in cheek and awkward.
Yeah, it's so tongue in cheek, a little bit of slapstick in there.
It's so funny to me, and so slice of life is the greatest genre of anime for me because it is just life as
It's
a Japanese
just
person.
straight up Japanese culture.
And a lot of slice of life is a bunch of Japanese culture and then a bunch of like humor like thrown into it. And so basically any slice of life really, I mean,
It's like
I-
Lucky Star,
Lucky Star,
Azumanga Daioh.
Lucky
God.
Star.
Azumanga Daioh is one of my
I'd say
favorites.
Lucky Star for me. Most people when they think slice of life is Osmanga, I think that's the most iconic. For me, Lucky Star though, that actually influenced me a lot too, like in like art style and just like I don't know the way like I know this is weird, but like the way you have conversations and treat other people. Like that show actually like taught me a lot about because that whole show was just people talking to each other.
Yeah.
And it's really funny and like I don't know I liked really being involved with the culture. Like I don't know I like.
Slice of life shows make you feel included in that kind of culture.
They do.
They really do.
I'm scared that I'm gonna like we'll talk more about like ethnic stuff, and I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I'll sound like an American hater. But
You are?
you know what? I'm just gonna say now, America is wonderful. Anyways, so what about you?
Don't deport me.
Well, going on slice of life, I love slice of lives, and I get because you see like the same small. It's usually a smaller group of characters, and you see,
So it's really intimate.
and you just
very
see them go
intimate.
through life. And I never want those done because I want to watch that show until they.
And
die.
then every
Which
time
is-
a slice of life ends, it's sad.
And it's
Have
always
you guys seen the extended edition of the Azumanga Daioh manga?
No.
He released more of it, but
I know that he did.
because he made another series, but then he released a little bit more of it. Only in Japan though, and it's been translated and it's online. But it's like I love it. It's like I fell in love with this series and watched and read. I own all of the books. I've read
Nice.
or seen every single episode.
Have you read his other series about the girl with the green hair?
I haven't. I want to.
It's basically the same.
I know. I want to see it, but like, and then he made more of these characters that I love, and it's just like it was really.
When
After that sad ending, it made me really happy.
one of the series that I think best
Oh,
exemplifies that is Clannad. And the
Clannad is the saddest.
It's
thing.
it's sad as shit. But like how they actually went the extra mile and created Clannad After Story, which was just
Uh-huh.
oh, that was so fantastic.
Clannad's one of those series where if there's like anime fans in the room and you say Clannad, you just hear everyone go. "Ah!"
So what about you, Russ? I know you said you're not that into Japanese. Is that
Yeah.
like a piece of Japanese?
Something
know,
that you've
because-
experienced.
I mostly watch anime because I love really well done animation.
Yeah.
Sure,
It's
sure, and that's something that's a good place to go for it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Because Western animation had a lot of, in terms of really good quality,
Mhm.
it had a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
And so even like sometimes like I'm like, this is too Japanese for me. I hate it, but I continue watching it because
You can
it's
appreciate,
beautiful.
yeah, because you can appreciate what it looks like.
Is that why you like Space Dandy?
I
Yeah.
love
Space
Space
Dandy.
Dandy.
Okay, I love
Space Dandy is
too.
great.
That's another one of the few times where
Because the animation's phenomenal.
yeah,
And the,
yeah,
and the show, not that great.
Yeah,
I love. It's not that great, which makes it great.
yeah.
Which
Like
is
the very first episode where
amazing.
they have that crazy trippy sequence.
Yeah.
yeah,
and
yeah,
she's
and
on
it's
that-
beautiful.
Yeah, but I've never had. Oh god, that was a horrible voice
How,
crack.
how old are you? 13.
I just saw Spike on the audio.
I think I tend to gravitate toward the more darker stuff
Sure.
because it's the less toned down like
Mhm.
because
Have you seen Helsing?
no.
You
Like,
should.
you would
I've
like
only
Hellsing,
seen
like
House in
Hellsing.
Abridged.
Hellsing is really good.
Yeah.
Actually.
But because I think a lot of the comparison I made before is not about subtlety, but they do like the soliloquy, and then I remembered when you were talking about humor, they do like the awkward humor, and they turn it up to like 120%.
Yeah.
where
Love
they
it.
just force it,
Oh my god.
and sometimes I'm just like, no, I can't handle it. It's too much.
Really?
And so
Oh, that's my favorite.
it's my favorite. Oh my god, that's what makes Azumanga
Always,
Daioh so
always.
I
great.
know.
The scene of the guy landing on the girl and the she
Yep,
falls over.
Yeah.
that's the best. That moment where it just freezes and everybody, even the watcher, is like, "Ah!"
yeah. So I tend to gravitate to the more darker stuff, and I think favorite anime is still really difficult for me, but I think the most notable experience I had with anime was Evangelion, the end of Evangelion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because when, like, I know the apocalypse shit actually
Yeah.
starts to hit,
Yeah.
and it touched such. It's the first time I've truly been disturbed
Mm-hmm.
by something, and because it does it in such a really intelligent way with the blending of all of these religious archetypes and symbols, with, I don't know if you guys do know a lot of like religious stuff, but so it's like the whole Seals of Solomon, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and Lilith's egg and stuff. Lilith was actually in Creation mythology sort of like an Eve, but then had sex with Archangel Gabriel or whatever, and then was it Michael? And then got thrown down, and I don't know, like everything, like the Spear of Longitis or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. That's the name of the spear that was used to preach Jesus. Like it blends in all these mythological archetypes and stuff in a way that's disconcertingly familiar, where it feels like something that could actually have happened, or like it feels like a true established mythos or religion that could have existed. And I also happened to be watching it when I was like off my meds at 2 a.m. So it wasn't the best part. And
So it's great.
no, but so like it culminated in something where I was like, I was so disturbed but so fascinated, and like it was just weird.
Okay.
And
But you liked it.
yeah.
That's good.
All right.
So that's what counts.
So for me, personally, this topic is way too broad.
Yeah.
because I could talk so much.
Oh no, I could too. I forced myself to narrow.
I know,
it down.
yeah. So I'll save a lot of it for a topic for another. But if I could pick one piece, the first thing that came to mind was
One
when
Piece?
Shut up.
No,
You son of a bitch, get out.
was when we were first talking about Studio Ghibli. The one movie that came to mind that really like affected me, and still like kind of haunts me to this day, is Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh my god.
That movie, that's just immediately stood out
That
when
movie
he was
is
talking.
such a piece of art.
So good.
Now I feel inadequate that you guys said all these dark, awesome things,
Well,
and
like,
I said Lucky
there's-
Star.
well,
Dude,
no, I could talk a lot about anime and things like that.
I said
but
Metal Gear. That show has
But
poop in it.
just-
like
just
game.
going off
movie,
the topic of just
game.
Japanese storytelling.
My
in
show's
general.
about girls talking about cream puffs.
Yeah. Which end do you eat first?
I don't know. What, like, you take the top off and then you scoop the inside? That's what they said?
Yeah.
I don't know. Watch episode 1, everybody. Anyways.
But yeah, I'll keep it at that because that was the first thing I thought of.
Grave of Fireflies is phenomenal. Like, I can't even say
Yeah,
anything other
it's
than
so
phenomenal.
good.
Just
like,
if you haven't seen it, oh
have
my
you seen it,
gosh.
Ross?
No.
It is.
You-
You would actually really like it.
I know,
like
I would.
it.
I just keep holding off because
Oh,
everyone's like, it's so sad.
It
And
is.
so, like,
Like,
you have to be in the mood where you sit down, because if you
You
know
have to
something,
sit down and be like, I'm gonna be sad today.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's the thing. There's also the fact that it might not be nearly as sad as it's supposed to be if that's all you hear.
If it's
Yeah.
built up like anything else, it'll
No, but
disappoint.
you know, it's like, for instance, like when I watched like Of Mice and Men, it took me a while, even though it's one of my favorite books, to watch the movie adaptation, just because I was like, can't do it today. I have to be functional.
I have to do things today. Can't cry for hours. It's true.
Man.